that sounds like it keep them occupied for sure.
Time reading the paper.
This is amazing. I've been in a hidey hole.
Yes, I bet,
Just
I
getting,
bet.
actually,
Head down.
Sunday
going.
Sunday
Right.
was a day of rest, thankfully. But the previous to that was.
Call to order the meeting for the Planning and Zoning, Monday, January 8th, 2018. Gina, roll call.
Tony Gokenbach.
Here?
Greg Scornia. Here. Mark Kleesner.
Here.
Mark Piontek.
Here.
Tom Holdmeyer.
Here.
Sandy Lucy.
Here.
John Borgman.
Here.
Chuck Watson.
Here.
Samantha Wacker.
Here,
Carolyn Witt.
Here.
Sal Maniaci.
Here.
Please rise for a pledge of allegiance. Before we get started, one item on the agenda will not be heard tonight. It'll be at the next meeting, and that's the last one for the requesting approval of a special use permit to permanently remove the flag from the disguised cell tower located at 85 Cecilia Drive.
Yep.
So in case you're here, you don't have to sit through the rest of the meeting.
It's been posted.
And we will re-notify for that meeting, so.
Moving on, item number 2, approval of the minutes from the December 11th, 2017 meeting. If you've had a chance to review those, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve.
There is a football game tonight.
I'll second to approve.
First and a second, all those in favor?
aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Moving on to item number 3, case number 180102, special use permit, Franklin County Recycling and Salvage. Applicant is requesting approval of a special use permit to operate a recycling center and salvage yard on a property located at 1699 West Main Street. Sal?
All right, yes, the subject property is located, as you said, at 1699 West Main Street. This is the old Sporlin valve plant building at the intersection of, just north of the intersection of Bluff Road and Westling Drive, you can see here. And it's adjacent to industrial property to the northwest and to the southwest. And then there is, well, here, I'll show the zoning, apologize. Zoom out here a little bit, you can see the white is actually property that's not inside the city limits. All the gray is M2 heavy industrial zoning, and then the yellow is single-family residential R1A zoning. There is some green here for some agricultural land that is still remains zoned agricultural. So the applicant is requesting to relocate Franklin County Recycling from their location on Bluff Road to this building, and it does require a special use permit because of the outdoor storage and because of the nature of the use is intense enough. We figured no matter what area they were going in town, they would require a special use permit for that type of use anyway. So they did submit a site plan with their application. It does show some improvements to the property, mainly in some fencing and screening, some security measures. They are still proposing the main access to be the same driveway they have today off of Main Street, and then utilize the existing parking that you see there today. And then that's along the southern and southeastern portion of the building here. And then the drive lane does go into the rear of the portion. And here's where they propose to have their storage area. I can actually, let's maybe a little better zoom in on this one. So they have existing pavement and proposed loading dock, but they show, or sort of Baylor, I should say. So this dark line is their proposed 10 feet tall solid privacy fence, and it runs from the rear of the building on the southern side all along where the proposed storage area will be. And then for the remainder of the storage area, they propose a 6 foot tall chain link fence to the north, I should say northeast, and then 6 foot tall chain link fence to the western side as well. And then they do show an existing fence along the property line they would like to utilize as well. Sorry. Yeah, it does call out an existing fence here. And so they would extend the fence along the northern and the northern and western property line. This would be a new chain link fence here, and this would be a new solid fence here. They are proposing some improvements here for the loading dock and I guess some storage area, depending on the size of that may require additional permits, but we can get, our building department will determine that when we get to that point. But for the use, I will say that, the property is located in like I said, M2 Heavy Industrial Zone District. If, this use were to be proposed anywhere, it needs obviously to be in this zone district. However, because of the fact that it isn't surrounded 100% by industrial uses, because there is the residential property to the east here, staff would recommend that if this were to go through with approval, to add some conditions of approval to make sure it is screened the absolute best it can from the neighboring properties. This is probably as far as intensity goes, one of the highest intensity uses that could be requested in industrial district because of the fact of the salvage and recycle yard that will be used in the back. So what staff's recommendation would be to extend this fence 100% around the proposed storage area. So anything that is to be outdoors, outside of the building, would have to be completely screened by a solid 10-foot fence that is site-proof. And also to keep any property to be, any storage material to be out of the front and eastern side of this building and to be behind that area. So the parking lot can only be used for employees and customers. I know they are showing a chain link fence along the industrial property to the west, but we believe that just because it's an industrial property as well, that it doesn't need any less of a screen because of the intensity of use, that the screen should be 100% around the material they plan to have in the rear. And then the other condition of approval that we have, apologize, I don't think it's in my staff report, but we talked about it internally, is that they maintain the fire lane throughout the back, because as you see in the aerial, that the building does have a 360-degree fire lane because of the size. And so they would have to maintain that. And even though there's going to be a fence there, would have to have some type of gate and have a clear path. So if it needed, they would have access 100% around the building. That's all really I have. If you have any questions for me.
Do we know what kind of material they were going to use for the fence?
It doesn't say, it just says solid fence. So, that's something we have regulated here as a condition in the past. We specified. I would say that I would recommend maybe doing that, because if you remember, we had a use that we required a site-proof fence about a year and a half ago that we didn't specify, and they put up a tarp. So we would want to make sure that's in the ordinance as well.
Any other questions or comments of Sal?
I have a question.
Yes.
Is the ownership the original that from the previous location? I know the husband and wife,
Franklin County Recycling has signed as the owner.
okay, but I wonder if it was the original owner because, and reason I bring that up is when I was on the council and I was liaison to 353, they had problems with this business in keeping the property. There are certain standards that they try and maintain. 353 overlooks the industrial parks. And there were problems. It seemed like almost every month they were citing them for something. Things parked, they were not, it was supposed to be kept out of sight, that type of thing. And they were constantly, I don't think they were on a corner, but they were in they got complaints from other industrial, that this was a detriment. They didn't keep to the standards that the 353 tried to uphold in the industrial parks. And I had a concern that since there was a history of this, I haven't been to any of those meetings in some time, so it could be there's no problem anymore. But I don't know, Sandy, that some of that dates before your time.
Yes, but I do believe that this is a different owner.
It's a
from
different
back
owner.
then. Back
That's-
then.
that's
This
why I
is a
was
different
trying to
owner,
find
because
that
there
out.
was a gentleman attended one of our council meetings
Okay.
maybe a year ago to tell us that he was the new owner of.
Yeah, because
Franklin County
that's good.
Recycling.
And if there hasn't been a problem You know,
No,
but that
that's
was
about it.
something that
Well-
raised a red flag, because I know there had been issues in the past. And I would hate to think it's moving closer to a residential area, and if those problems would continue, they'd be even more egregious, whatever the word is. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions of Sal? If not, we'll entertain questions, comments from the audience. Just please, if you would, come up, introduce yourself, and state your address.
Good evening, I'm Sean Mayall. Sal, can you put the slide back up that shows the Carmel Lane? I'm the owner that bought Mount Carmel Estates there. I got 12 lots that butt up there on West Main. And first of all, I'd like to say, I mean, I definitely would love to see something go on with that building. There's nothing that's any worse than, you know, empty buildings sitting in our community. However, to hit a little bit on what Carolyn had mentioned, you know, I know that we do have a new owner, but for this operation to be put right next to, I think it's about 12 or 15 brand-new homes, and the problem with the fencing is, and I don't know if anybody's been out there to take a look, but all the homes in the existing subdivision and Mount Carmel overlook that Sporlan valve. So you're not, you know, the fence will be good if you're down in the parking lot, but when you're driving by and you're up in all those elevations and all those homes there in yellow, the existing homes, look out their back window, they're gonna see right over top that, because that overlooks the entire Sporlan plant. However, I'm very concerned for myself on what this is gonna do to property values, and I don't know if, again, I'm not here to knock the applicant by any means. I think recycling and it's got a time and it's got a place, but the place is not next to where people live. I'm sure if any of us or even the applicant would not want that next to their house. And I'm very concerned for myself. I'm very concerned. I know there's some other citizens here that actually currently live there right now. But again, that's not the place for that. And does everybody have pictures or seen the current location where they're at? Just to make sure that, you know, we're talking about the same type of, it's not, you know, looks okay from the street, but it looks to me like a complete salvage yard. And what I'm very concerned about is if this is approved, 100% to Carolyn's comment, how do you police it? We all know that there'll be another truck and trailer brought in, another truck and trailer, and before you know it, it's going to be all over that property. We know how this operations is. That company has grown a lot where they're at. And if the 353 and other corporations that are around there are concerned how it looks, how would you like to live in the homes and have to look out your back deck and see that all the time? So I think that's a big can of worms here we're opening up, and I think it's going to be almost impossible to police it. And so I definitely have some concerns for that location. You know, if it was a location where there was no other homes around it, I think that would be perfectly fine, but I don't think it's fair. I don't think you can do that to a bunch of homeowners that's lived here forever, and especially that subdivision that I bought that's been sitting there for about 12 years vacant, and we're finally building some homes up there and making some sales. So again, I'm very concerned. So thank you.
Thank you.
Please come on up.
Tim Hoying. I live at 10 Lower Lane, one of the lower places. We've lived there since 1988. And we've lived with Sporlan Valve there. They were pretty good neighbors. The whole connotation of this being a salvage yard and recycling center just really worries me. Nobody's brought this up yet, but there is a sort of a retention pond and a runoff from that parking lot that's for years has, when it's rain and stuff, has come off and it fills the creek up that runs through there. I'm just afraid with something strictly for salvage vehicles and such, the rain's going to run off and it's going to get into the groundwater. That's one of my main concerns. Plus the site. Plus, I feel there's places for business, but I don't think this is one of them. I thank you.
All right, thanks. please feel free to come up.
Hello, my name is Karen Albert, and I live at...
If you could just
Oh,
pull it down.
hello.
You can pull it down.
There, sorry.
Yeah, that's
It's
right.
shorter. My name is Karen Albert, and I live at 11 Laurel Lane. So my property backs up to Sporland, and I can see that in the winter and the summer on my back deck, and I just think, again, as Tim said, I really don't think that that is the place to have a recycling center adjacent to residential properties. Also, I am concerned, I know we are down gradient of their property, and any contaminants could go into my backyard. Noise, just in general, I just don't think that having a salvage yard, because I've seen pictures of, I guess, of the previous recycling center. I'm not sure if that's what it was, but where they had stored different vehicles. And like I said, the fence might look nice for 5 years, 10 years. Then it starts, you start having problems with the fence, and then what? I mean, how much is this going to be policed? I'm still going to be living there. I'm still going to be looking at that in my backyard. So I guess that's all I have to say. I'm just don't think that's the place to have a recycling yard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sue Holdmeyer, and I live at 16 Laurel Lane. We're kind of on Main Street where the little triangle is, Main and... we never had a problem with Sporland. The only thing we ever heard was their lunch whistle or break whistle. My concern is the noise that this is going to create. We live in our backyard from May until the mid-September. I just don't want to have all of that in my backyard. I don't want to see it. When you're on my deck, you're going to have to build about a 20-foot fence for me not to see down inside Sporland. I don't think this is the place for it to be. Would love for another company like Sporland to come in there, but I just don't think a salvage yard is what we need there. Thanks.
Thanks. Anyone else? Please feel free to come up. Don't hesitate.
We don't bite.
Hello, everyone. I am Jeff Gardner. I am the current owner of the new Franklin County Recycling and Salvage. I know there was some problems with the 353. That was actually the neighbor. We were joined properties. It was his cars that were the ones that were the nuisance. All my stuff was pretty much well kept. I talked to both Sal and the other administrators, and that's what they said.
Sir, would you remove your hat, please?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Oh, I plan on keeping my goal was to move everything that I have inside the building, except for the metal recycling. That would be loaded instantly as soon as it came in, straight into a trailer, as fast as I could. I bought 17 more trailers this year, just to make sure that I will not have anything to be a nuisance. The whole front side parking lot that will be adjoined to these houses, which would be the part fenced in on the, was that southeast side?
Yes.
That will only have licensed vehicles in it. Whether it be a semi-trailer, it'd be a licensed tag. Oh, thank you. Okay. I didn't see which button you pushed. Okay. This whole side right here would only be licensed vehicles and semi-trailers. So there would never be any car out there that wasn't licensed to drive on the street. Back in this area right here, this would be my little iron pit, and I'd have my trailers lined up right through here. That way that everything that would hit the ground would go instantly into a trailer as fast as I possibly could. I need a lot more area for what I'm doing. I think we had 4,000 customers last year, city residents included. That way that we could better serve this Washington community. Are there any questions for me?
Have you spoken with the neighbors about your plans?
No, I have not.
Okay.
It was really cold this weekend, and I'm sorry I didn't make it back over to Washington. I had a truck issue. And I do plan on taking care of every one of the neighbors. I will leave my cell phone with anyone. If anyone ever has any problem whatsoever with my fence or anything, they could have my cell phone number. They could call me instantaneously. They could walk over to the business. I'll be right there.
Go ahead.
What was your first name again?
Jeff.
Jeff, that's right, sorry. I think Jeff and I talked today. I was out and visited the site, and we went over a lot of things. And I think it would be good if you would pretty much tell the commission what you and I talked about today with the type of fence you're wanting to put up and where it would be located, and explain that to the commission, I think would be good.
I'm going to go with a 10-foot corrugated metal. It'd be like a pole barn siding. The residents could pick the color. I am not worried about what color it is. I'm not looking out of my backyard, just like they said. I'm not. I mean, I wish I was closer to my business, but it would be 10-foot corrugated, look just like a pole barn. It would be white capped, nice and pretty. The poles would be 8 foot on center, 6x6 poles, and I guess they'll wrap around the entire back if that's what they would like. And I will keep the noise to a minimum. If they want some shrubs or some trees also, I can put up on the outside of the fence some shrubs or some trees also if they would like that more.
And I also want to point out, too, because we had a discussion today, and I talked to one of the homeowners out there. The homeowner thought the fence was going to go on the property line. And if you look at the drawing, the property line is a lot different than the parking lot perimeter. So I just want to make sure that that gets cleared up, too, that this 10-foot fence would not be on the property line, because it wouldn't do any good if it was on the property line.
No, it wouldn't.
Do any screening. The other question I have is, you show in the proposal your parking lot would probably be larger than what is in the aerial picture shown here, and it would be more squared off. Is that correct?
Yes, it would.
Okay. So, Sal, have we addressed runoff for that? If he's going to increase
You would
the
have
parking
to
area?
show, whenever the building permit came in, and show any additional impervious area, he would have to show, there's not going to detriment the downstream neighbors. So if there's on-site detention, I would bet that there is enough on-site detention to handle that, but he would have to show some documentation that there is, because I know there is a detention pond on that site.
There is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or retention area.
'Cause I didn't
not a
see
pond.
that today.
But, yeah, there's on-site detention there.
That's all the questions I have for him.
Any other questions?
Some of the neighbors had raised some concerns about possible environmental impact of what you're doing. Can you address that?
All my cars are drained right as soon as they get to the site, and I burn the clean oil and clean burn heaters to heat the building, is what my plan is. Nothing will get in the groundwater. I know right now there's a problem with the building 2 over, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one that's up here, I would guess, is where the city, I guess that to be a Superfund area also. And I make sure there's nothing that gets in the groundwaters, no matter what. And this is a retention pond right here in this location right here. My scrap pit will be back here, and I will also have 21 Design build a retention pond for me also for the backside of the building. That way that it will be covered any which way I can. I do not want to hurt the environment. I want to help it.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Right here, this fence right here will be parking lot grade. So as high as the parking lot grade is, so any houses down in this area right here will not be able to see anything that I have in the back of this area right here.
Will that stay a green piece of land then?
Yes, I will keep this all green land, well mowed and all that stuff.
Not right.
Right now, I think it's got like retention humps in it to where it pretty much has to stay for water retention either way so it doesn't get too fast.
If you could, you can speak to us.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. We just don't want it back and forth, and have this on tape, so
okay.
you can hear and transcribe the meeting.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah. So that's what yeah. This is it's a parking lot grade fence is what this right here is, and it'll be 10 feet tall. So I think the building right now existing where this building right here is located, I believe it is 16 foot tall on the outside edge. So I'm not going to be much shyer than that height for the rest of this fence. And I'll probably end up going to this far right here, this length right here, and have a gate right there.
Now, Sal, did you talk about changing the fence to the west, or?
Just extending it further, so where he shows it along this eastern property line to enclose the entire area that's going to be outdoor storage. So.
And I think something you just, in response to her, that between the fence and the property line was going to remain green space?
Yes, it will. It will be green space. Unless if you guys ever let me build a house on this area right down here, but that'll be a further discussion. I do want to be closer to my business, I'm not going to lie to you.
This isn't that side.
Any other questions or comments? We may, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mayor.
Well, no questions. Did this what you just passed out? Where
It
did
was
that
just
come
handed to
from?
me to be passed out. I remember the audience.
That wasn't what you sent out.
No, the letter was the one I sent out. The one with my signature is our notice of the meeting, and then everything attached to it is what was submitted.
Okay.
Okay,
Because
correct.
it looks like that was something you sent out.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, just the letter, just the front page was what I sent to the neighbors.
Okay.
Wait a second, we'll have you come up. You can go ahead, we may have more questions later.
Okay, thank you. Yes,
All right,
I'm here.
Thanks.
So can I ask what this is?
Yes, Sal.
Sal, do you know what this is?
No, I just had it handed to me. I didn't even look through it.
Did you bring that?
Yeah, that's photos that I took.
Is that the current operation?
Yes,
Okay.
This is the current operation
where they're at now.
over on
On Bluff Road?
Yes.
on Bluff Road?
Can we have the owner certify that the photos are of his property?
Yeah, because I thought I asked you guys earlier if you'd saw those current photos, and I thought everybody said yes, but that's the
No,
current.
I
that
haven't seen anything that looks like this on
Yeah,
Bluff Road.
yes, that was,
Are these
those were
your
taken
photos?
4 days ago. Just want to make sure we're
Yeah.
clear.
All right, if you could, come back up.
You want me to hand one?
Yeah. You want to give him one so he can show?
None of this is visible from the street. I asked the owner of the building right now if I could put up a fence, and she said as long as I would take it down, I do not own this building. She will not let me put up a fence around this building. So the vehicles you see in the background are just, they're not seen from the street. He had to walk pretty close to the building to get these pictures.
But
The
this
front-
is how it looks out there.
The front cardboard, I do have cardboard stored in the front because I can't get a pickup this late in the year, or this early in the year right now. They're not hauling my cardboard right now. But it is how it looks right now.
And you did tell, because you told me this morning that you were planning on moving those type of operations all inside.
Everything will be
See
inside the
that
building.
inside.
You will never see that cardboard or nothing else because it will be inside the building.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that
What
that
about-
information.
It's 100,000 square feet is what the building's pretty close to. And right now, we're operating out of a 12,000 square foot building. We have grown a lot bigger than we thought we would over the last 2 years, thanks to the city of Washington.
Are the vehicles, this certainly shows a lot of vehicles on the premises, is that type of operation also going to be indoors? Or what is the situation?
That's what's going to be outside is just the vehicles, but I'm going to get rid of those as fast as they come in. They will be put right into the Grossman trailers as fast as they come in. And he even has some pictures of the upside of that next to the Grossman trailer is the neighbor's yard.
Yeah.
And most of these cars are currently gone today.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Sal, do you want to also talk about this letter that we received?
Yeah, I handed that out before the meeting. We received a letter today from Tim and Patricia Hoeing, I think is how you pronounce it, and since I got it today, the packet was already out, passed it out when it got here.
Anyone else like to come up and speak? You want to come up now? Okay.
Sorry for interrupting. I didn't mean to get out of order. My name is Jenny Dickhouse. I almost live at the V on the property line. I overlook Sporlin. I've reported them to the fire department when they've had issues. I can see everything, and I'm going to reiterate what everyone has said. We're concerned about property values. We're concerned about this, knowing what's going on now. And I don't know if there's a recourse if something like this happens and this has already been voted in. We're concerned about the environment. We're concerned about that retaining pool with the water seeping through because that overflows. We're concerned about noise. We're concerned that, would you want this in your backyard? Please give this some careful consideration for those of us who live next to a former good industrial neighbor and what we're going to be living next to now. I just am pleading you to think about it. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else?
Just a couple extra comments. The retention pond that's already there.
If you could introduce yourself again.
Tim Hoeing, 10 Laura Lane. The current retention pond is closer to the Holtmeyers and Jenny's property. But if he's going to build another retention pond on the farther end of it, that's all sloped property. It's not level, even though the photograph shows it. It's got a pretty good grade. And I don't know anybody that can overcome gravity at this point. And any runoff of vehicles parked there, regardless of how they're kept, is still going to go into the groundwater. Okay, that's my major concern.
Any other comments, questions? Please feel free. Any other questions, comments by board members?
Sal, I have a question. Can you verify for me where number 10 and number 11 and number 16 Laura Lane are located on our subdivision map, on the site map here? Do you know, or can
No, I
somebody
don't
in
think,
the
I
audience
couldn't
help
tell
me?
you exactly.
they
The
can come up
homeowners
and
could probably
point
tell
it
you better
out.
than I could, honestly. If you want to use laser pointer?
Sure, please.
Can you do this one?
Yeah, it zooms out. Yeah, it's the red button right there.
Because that's got the lot line.
There we go.
There you go.
Which one's the laser?
It has a red line on it.
Okay. That's, I think ours is number 10. That's it's numbered funny. It starts at
That's
one
why I
at the
wanted to
top,
ask.
And it goes all the way around. It's not the typical even odd. So it starts, one's up here, then it goes completely down, 10, 11. That's where the Briggs live. 14. I'm not sure what. And then that's the Holtmeyers, and then Dick House, Holtmeyers. So it's all, and this is all higher than down here. This is kind of low, but as you go up, it goes down. So these people right here have a really good view. A 10-foot fence is not going to stop much.
So where is 16? I'm sorry, I didn't see what is that the pie-shaped?
I think it is.
No.
No, down for, this one? No.
Where am I
It's
going?
the lower pie. I think the next pie down.
We're right here, Tom. Right there.
Right there, okay, thank you.
Yep.
Is that yours?
What?
That's
We
your
go to Main
house,
Street,
right?
yeah. Yep, that's us.
Okay. And then Jenny is next to you?
Yes.
Okay,
Jenny is right here.
okay. And then Steigers, right?
Steigers are here.
Okay.
Briggses are here.
Thanks.
Tom, I have a question.
Yes.
Now, even though that fence will be moved up to parking lot grade, and it's 10 feet tall, will you all living in those locations still be able to see over that fence? Okay.
It's a complete hill down one side and up the other.
Okay.
Can I,
You could come up if you're going to talk.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, it ends in the creek.
can you introduce yourself? too?
I'm sorry, Pat Hoyne at 10 Laura Lane. When you go off our property, it's a complete downhill slide to the creek, which runs into the river after it leaves a retention pond, and then it goes up the other side onto Sporland. So we're higher, we can actually see over their roof. We can see past that. So, yeah.
Most
Plus-
have a higher back deck, too, on the back of your homes. It's not ground level decks that you have out your back, so.
You know, plus the noise, we're all concerned about the noise. And where are they going to be hauling this, up and down Main Street? With the extra traffic, when they pick things up and they take the waste out and waste in? Is it going to be on the main drag?
It could possibly. But I would assume they'd go out Bluff Road to get to 100.
Unless that's flooded like it does every year twice, where it closes off Westlink.
Not every year.
Okay, it's pretty close. So, I mean, there's just so many concerns. There's kids in the neighborhood where, a lot of young kids are moving into the neighborhood. It's just not a good place for that type of environment. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to address the commission. Did everybody go out and look at the site?
I've been out there before. I've
Okay.
seen it.
Did
I'm
you see
familiar
it
with
today,
it.
though?
I haven't seen it today.
With no leaves on the
but I've
trees?
seen
I
it.
went out there and walked around and drove it today. And from the Steigers' yard, when you look across that ditch or valley, whatever you want to call it, you're looking at the level parking lot. So if you put another 10-foot fence above that, there's no way that the Steigers, and I explained this to Mr. Steiger today, we had about a half-hour phone conversation today, and he changed his attitude after we talked to be a little more favorable. But I just want to make sure everybody has the facts, because to really look at this site, you have to go out and see it, because that 10-foot fence from all the properties where the Steigers live down to 14, 11, and 10, because that drops off after that, that those folks that live down there, there's no way they can see over the top of that fence because they're dropping down in elevation and the fence is up here. So the others, as you come up, and I'm not pro or con just yet, but I'm just trying to gather the facts factually. When you come up above the Steigers to the Dick houses and lot number 16, which I think is the Holtmeyers, their backyards really don't have a view to that back storage area because they're looking through their neighbors' properties. Even today when I went out there and looked through the trees, you can see it to a certain extent, but nothing like in the summertime, the leaves are going to be on the trees. You have no visibility through there at all. So there's a natural barrier, if you want to call it, to those backyards. And I guess my only concern is, and some of this information I got from talking to Mr. Steiger today, is that there's been some misinformation given out there. And I think if we're going to make an informed decision for all parties involved to make sure that, and we deal with this at every one of our meetings, that we make sure we have the facts and the informed decision rather than just going on hearsay stuff. So that's all I have to say.
Can I ask Mr. Mayle to come back up for a minute?
Sean Mayo again.
Yes.
Yeah.
From your subdivision, are there any lots that would be benefited by a fence to this property?
No, I mean, again, you'd almost have to just do a site visit. My first lot there is lot 12. 10, 11, and 12, and the two across the street, 1 and 2. I mean, you just stand right there, you can oversee, I mean, you can see the roof. You're higher than the roof of Sporland. And I know there's half of those people over on the other street that I can see their roofs. So, I mean, if half the people on the street are below and half are up, that still doesn't make it right for the people that live up. So, I think, you know, if you're not prepared to make a decision tonight, everybody needs to go out and take a look at it, because from what I saw in my eyes, you're gonna be able to see over top of that fence. And again, number one concern is, once this permit is permitted, probably a good question for Mr. Mark, how do you police this? Because we all know what happens. And for the record, what's the street that Ziegler Signs is on?
Vosbrink.
This picture was taken from my iPhone. I was sitting in my truck on Vosbrink Drive. So I'm not sure. You go along Vosbrink and you can see the whole back of this operation. From the front, you can't. So just a lot of concerns that need to be looked at, because this is going to be a can of worms, and it's going to be the city's problem that's going to be dealing with this, getting phone calls, and I think the city needs to be proactive in trying to avoid problems. And again, throwing something this next to people that have investments, residentials that live there, is not the right thing to do. Again, there's a time and a place for this, just not there. Did I
Sean,
answer?
yeah, and I would agree with you that your subdivision has that visibility, because I drove up that street today too and looked at that, and you do have that visibility up there. But I guess my other concern is, this is a zoned industrial site, and if it wasn't a recycling center, it wouldn't even be coming to us. You could have another industry coming in there that you wouldn't really know what it was, and we wouldn't even come here, go to the council or anything, and you wouldn't know what it would be until after it moved in.
Exactly. Well, a lot of those people that bought homes up there, been up there a long time, they bought them when Sporlan was there, and there's a big difference between a plant like Sporlan that's gonna do manufacturing, that they just go there, they use the parking lot, they go inside, everything's done inside, clean operation. There's a heck of a difference between that and a recycling salvage yard. We really need to identify what the difference is here. Again, the question I ask, is it fair to permit this type of operation next to people's homes? Right slammed against residential homeowners. That's my argument, that's my question. Again, a 10-foot fence is not gonna do much good. It'll do good a little bit down at the bottom, but it will not do good. The only way a 10-foot fence is gonna work is when you pull in the parking lot, you may not see. But if you all drive West Main, drive up through mine, look at those other lots, you're gonna be able to look at that property.
But to John's point, you could have a business in there that has just as much traffic, creates just as much noise, and again, they wouldn't even come before us and be able to move in like that.
And the point I'll make there is the one next to it. If you look at that, go back to that other color drawing, if you would please, Sal. Look at the difference in how that one industrial site next to the old Sporlan plant looks compared to this one. And we've had multiple fires at the other facility.
What's your point though, John?
My point is, you could get an industry in there and you wouldn't have any say into anything. You couldn't have a fence put up. You couldn't, they could be doing stuff in their back parking lot that you as property owners would have no recourse, because it's an industrial approved.
That's perfect for an industry to go in there. I think that would be the greatest thing. That would create a lot of jobs in Washington. That's what that building is designed for. That building and that property is not designed for these photos. And again, we can talk about a 10-foot fence all day long, but these are the ultimate photos of what a scrapyard looks like. And that's not the proper use. I would argue with you all day long, John, that is for industrial use, for manufacturing. That's the type of facility that those people, when they bought homes there, and they paid for their investment, they bought next to that type of property. They didn't buy to go in there and have their property value drop 30% because they're looking at a salvage yard. They didn't do that. I'm sure you could ask, we could call everybody back up here and we could ask them if another manufacturing plant would go in there like Sporlan, or something that would create manufacturing and jobs, would anybody be opposed to the type of operation that was there before, or any type of manufacturing? I bet the answer, and you guys are more welcome to ask, would be yes, they would be 100% on board with that. We're talking about day and night, apples and oranges.
Any other questions or comments? Thanks. Anyone else in the audience that would like to speak?
Tim Hoying, 10 Laurel Lane. Just briefly to address Mr. Borgman's concern about any other industrial thing going in there that we would have no say. I counter that by, there's all kinds of regulations that our industry would have to follow. So there is recourse. You may not be on this panel, but there would be recourse if a business there was doing unsatisfactory, unsafe, or hazardous business. You know that as well as I do. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions or comments by board members? If not, I do want to just let the board know that I'm abstaining from voting on this and haven't said much because of the conflict of interest possibly. So, if there's no other comments, questions from the audience, entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
First on the floor.
Second.
Second. All those in favor? All those opposed?
No.
Nay.
Can you take a roll call vote? I think it's all no.
Hilgenbach?
Nay.
Rex Cornia?
No.
Mark Leisner?
No.
Mark Piontek? Oh, Tom, Sandy Lucy?
No.
Tom Boardman?
Yes.
Chuck Watson?
Yeah.
Samantha Wagner?
No.
Carolyn Witt?
Yes.
Louis Goddard?
The way this works is it will go to council
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yes.
So this is just a preliminary. They get the final say.
Correct.
Moving on. Thank everyone for coming. I appreciate it. Item number 4, case number 180103-353 redevelopment, sale of 41.2 acres in Heidemann Industrial Park. Sal?
Yes, I don't have any slides or anything for this. I'm sure you're all aware because we just did this recently for Lot 12. Whenever we sell a lot, 353 Redevelopment Corporation sells a lot in the Heidemann Industrial Park, we're required to pass an amendment to the development plan approving that sale. And I'm sure most of you saw in the paper this weekend that Melt Machine has agreed or has gotten under contract with 353 in the city of Washington to purchase the 41 acres just south of Highway 100. So this would be the next step of going to planning and zoning and getting approval of the amendment to the redevelopment plan.
Just want you to know, this could be Sal's big sale here.
Absolutely.
Derek.
And it only took me 3 months.
Uh-oh.
Broken.
I knew that was
Any questions, comments? Anyone in the audience that would like to comment on this? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Moving on, well, 5's gone, so we'll, any other business? Anything else?
Well, we want to thank Darren Lamb and Sal for all the hard work they did on that sale.
Yep.
Oh, look at Darren, so.
I remember just 6 months ago, it seemed like, what are we gonna do?
Isn't that the truth?
Every 6-month interval.
Yep. If there's nothing else, I'll entertain one last motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved.
You want to address? Yeah, I want to address the council.
Tom, I can remember when we started out in an 80 by 80 building there right across from Sportland too.
Oh, I think he's.
Yep.
Those Grossman trailers are low.
And within a year's
No.
time,
Well, you worked at Mel.
Yeah.
Yeah.